Alright, so I'm moving on with my fixed gear project that I'm building from a 18 speed road Norco bike. And here's one of the next things coming up. I've got a crank with 3 gears on this bike, and I only want to keep one of them. And as you know, one of the reasons of having or building a fixie bike is to have less parts, less weight, and less maintenance. So I'm going to get rid of the 2 extra gears on this crank. I took off the bolts right here. There's 5 bolts, and there's also 5 in the back that hold the smaller gear right here. So get rid of the small gear. Now you get rid of the outside gear, and I'm keeping the smaller one. The middle one, the medium-sized one. I'm keeping this gear. Now the problem is when I bolt it back onto the pedal, you could see there's a bit of a free movement. It moves free because the bolts keeping it together, they're a little too long. They're actually long enough, perfectly long, to keep these 2 gears together. Like this. Like this, there's no free play. If I get rid of this one, there's free play with those bolts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reuse this gear, the biggest one, and I'm going to cut these little parts where the bolt's supposed to go. These parts right here, I'm gonna cut them off with a grinder and use them as spacers. So basically, by inserting the spacers, I'm going to have the proper bolt length, and there's gonna be no more free play on this gear, between the gear and the pedal actually. So that's it. Pretty simple and pretty cheap way of converting your 3-gear crank to a 1 single gear crank. There you go. So here's the final result. This is the big gear, the one that I cut. And here is finally the gear that I'm gonna be using on my crank. You could see right here I have already inserted the little spacers that I cut. Here they are. They actually look pretty good. You don't see that they... Well, actually, if you look closely, you'll see that they're cut a bit crooked on certain spots, and they don't all look the same. But all in all, it looks good. It does the job, and it doesn't cost you anything except your old crank that you weren't going to use anyways. As you can see, I tried to move it, and there's completely no free play. It's all very tight and exactly what I needed to get as a result. So there you go.